fellow retailers, very happy to have you all here at this virtual conference. Hope all of you are safe and staying healthy at home. This is a period when all of us are doing quite a bit to take care of ourselves and also all of them around us. So the same day, exactly a week back, 10th of April, in fact, we were slated to hold the Home and Home Plus Conclave physical, I would call it now, at Pune, with all stakeholder groups from furniture manufacturers, retailers, designers, marketers, all coming together and to talk about the challenges that we as a category or as an industry face, and also to talk about the opportunities that lie ahead of us. But that's, to me, BC as in before Corona hit us, right? So right now, here we are in the virtual version, the inaugural edition of the virtual conference of the Home and Home Plus Conclave 2020. We are in good company. We have some very eminent industry professionals with us here this afternoon to share their views and to share their thoughts on what and how to bring our customers back. It's but my duty, though you know all of them, and most of you must be knowing all of them. I will take a couple of minutes to introduce them in alphabetical order. Mr. Anil Mathur. He is an industry veteran, Chief Operating Officer, Interior Division, Godrej & Boyce, spearheading the sustainable growth of the furniture and home business of the Godrej Group. He's also the President of the Association of Furniture Manufacturers of India, and he also is the Chairman of the Skilling Council of Furniture and Skill Fittings. Mr. Mathur sir, we are very happy to have you here and look forward to some very insightful views from you.
Thank you.
Welcome on board, sir.
Thank you.
Give me a second. There seems to be a small glitch here. Just give me 1 sec, please. My apologies, guys. Yeah. Mr. Ashish Goel is the founder CEO at Urban Ladder, one of India's leading online home retailers. Of course, they have multiple physical stores too now. He's donned the Chief Operating Officer hat with Amar Chitrakatha and was also earlier the Managing Director of India Because and worked with McKinsey as well, before his passion for furniture brought him into our beautiful world. Ashish, we are looking forward to some critical learnings of the online world and how we can transfer them to the offline world as well. Welcome on board, Ashish.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Look forward.
Thank you. Ms. Kavita Rao, the lady on the panel, the power lady of this panel, is the country commercial manager of IKEA India. She comes with 20 years of experience in consumer and retail sectors, and she's been with IKEA for over 5 years now and is responsible for sales, marketing, home furnishing, customer experience, and the food businesses of IKEA. Welcome, Ms. Kavita. We look forward to some very interesting insights based on the global approach of IKEA, since this is a global issue.
Thank you, Mahesh. Very excited to be here.
Yes. I hope Mr. Kumar has joined us, but anyway, I'll introduce him as we go along. Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan is the CEO of the Retailers Association of India, the voice of retailers in India, working closely with both government and industry stakeholders. And over 30 years of varied experience, he has spearheaded IBM as their country head retail solutions, as the executive director and COO of Crossword Bookstores. And that is after a multifaceted stint with Shoppers Stop, where he was heading key operations and finance as well. He's also a director with Retailers Association Skilling Council of India, or RASCI as it is known. Right now, he's stretching himself thin in taking the issues of us retailers with various authorities across the country. Hope your voice and energy are still intact, Mr. Kumar, if you are there, and welcome to the panel. And of course, we hope to hear a different voice today, and that of a retailer to a retailer.
Yes, voice is intact. Do not worry. Everything is fine. It's nice to do home conference from the home.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. And for our final panelist of the day, again, he needs no introduction, Mr. Manish Parekh is the Executive Director of the Furniture Division of Nilkamal Limited, who is responsible in conceptualizing and launching At Home, the home retail division of the company, and making the brand At Home a prominent and respected one in the field of Indian home retail. He brings decades of rich and varied experience from the diversified Nilkamal Group. Manish ji, it's a pleasure to hear your thoughts as usual on Indian home retail. Welcome on board.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you, Mahesh, and thank you for having me here. I'm very delighted.
Thank you so much. And I am Mahesh, a willing student, eagerly waiting to hear all these stalwarts speak, as much all of you out there. I serve as the CEO of Creative City, Pune, India's first and arguably largest and finest home retail destination for furniture, furnishings, decor, and all things home. Welcome to all attendees of the session. Please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A section. We will surely try to take a few questions towards the last 15 minutes of the session. So I think we'll get into the session now. And it is important for me to give you the format of the session. Enough has been talked about in terms of reducing cost structures, balancing cash flows, managing the internal game, skilling our people, reskilling them, upskilling them. A lot of attention is being given to these aspects since most of them appear to be in our control because they are largely internal looking. And of course, industry experts are giving a very big helping hand to make us do all of this and become prepared to face the world once the lockdown is released. But what needs deliberation and insights today? I think, and that's why we have more than 250 registrations for this session. What needs deliberation and discussion today is the source of our revenue, the purpose of our existence, the consumers, the people who will have to come cross our doors and buy, be it the physical store or the virtual store. So let's talk about them for a minute. I will set the context to the panelists with some facts, and then we'll open up the floor for discussions over the next 60 minutes or so, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session where the tech team at the back end is going to feed me with a few questions. We may not be able to answer all of them, but we'll surely make an effort to at least cover most of them during the conversation itself. So, dear panelists, let me set the context for all of you. A couple of surveys that have been done by the big consulting groups in India, right at the beginning of when the COVID crisis set in, has brought out quite a few facts, and I'm going to place 3 of them in front of you. Fact 1, more than 50% of the people are likely to cut down their discretionary spends. And I'm presuming and assuming, as much as all of you are, that our category largely falls into discretionary as a category. And add to this, from these people, more than 50% of them are likely to either postpone or even cancel their purchase from the discretionary categories. In fact, savings first is a thought in most people's mind. This is fact 1 in front of you. And I'm sure all my fellow retailers will also be aware of this fact. Fact number 2, a little disconcerting as well. More than 90% of customers or people believe that there is a recession that is likely to set in. There is a belief that there is a recession likely to set in is what more than 90% of the people feel. And fact number 3 is nearly 85% believe that social distancing is going to become a norm. In fact, all of us are aware that hashtag social distancing is one of the most widely used hashtags in these days now. So we have 3 facts that present themselves. And if I were to translate these 3 facts or these 3 points into 2 phrases that will set the tone for today's conversation, 2 phrases come up. A, consumer sentiment is weak. And B, consumer demand is likely to go down. So there is something that comes from the heart, and there's something that's happening from the rational side of it. So with this background, I'll first open up the debate. Mr. Mathur, my question to you, sir. What do you think, in the background of whatever the facts that we were talking about, what do you think will be the fundamental shifts in terms of consumer behavior? What do you think that they will be thinking? What do you think that they will be feeling? Please.
So, Mahesh, I think fundamentally the data is what is reflecting the consumer's thought process right now. as to how they are going to postpone their discretionary spends. And especially we may find that happening more so in the middle class, where the liquidity would be a cause of concern to people. And we are slowly going back into the era of shortages, so where people will think of holding essential items more and more than the discretionary items. But I have a different view. You know, any consumer, when he's wanting to spend money, prioritizes even in good times. Some of the priorities may be based on the functional, some of the priorities may be based on the emotional aspects of the people. Which means that some decisions will be based on rational and some decisions will be based on emotional. Now, what would be required is that to understand what are these functional needs of the customers and what are these emotional needs of the customers. If we don't look at the latent needs of the customers and only look at the basic functional, because what may happen is that fear psychosis will remain in the consumer's mind as far as the COVID-19 lockouts are concerned. They may still be thinking that these lockouts may come back till the whole thing is stabilized and it's wiped out of the world. So that sort of a fear will be there, which would mean the focus will be on essential items. Focus will be on some very functional items, which people never thought of having, be it refrigerators, higher volume, be it vacuum cleaners, be it maybe trimmers also for haircuts. So all these sort of things will be on the top of the agenda, which are the basic functional needs which people may be facing problem today with. But there are also, you know, the positive side that we must start thinking is that there are certain emotional needs which are not getting catered to in the houses, because of maybe the furniture was brought more from a functional aspect. And now that the people are going to live more time in their homes, with social distancing becoming an important parameter, people working from home becoming an important parameter, the spending of time at home will increase, and hence there may be a thought process in the minds of people of how to improve their whole setup or a get up in the house, where they are today facing issues when the complete family is staying back. So let's look at both the negative and positive, the negative being very functional things. Up till now, furniture was always thought that, okay, any increase in the economy, GDP rate and all will help us in getting larger business, because people will then think of going in for their wants rather than needs. But these wants can become some sort of an emotional need for people. And that is where there may be a change that may happen. So we'll have to wait and watch to see how these two issues can be tapped in the coming years, Mahesh.
Sure. So noted your point. And on the same point, I'll probably take this to Mr. Kumar now, because I'm able to also relate one more report that I read, Mr. Kumar. And this is the RA survey that recently happened, right? And where I think when you did it over nearly 800 retailers, and it was a combination of both food and non-food retailers. And non-food, I believe, will include categories like durables and furniture. I think most of the non-food retailers were talking about facing a drop in revenue by over 60%, or rather they were saying that they're likely to earn only 40% of the revenue in the coming 6 months, or the time after COVID sort of the lockdown is released. So if you were to look at that point on one hand, where the fear factor of the retailers is also pretty severe, and what Mr. Mathur was right now talking about in terms of consumers having allocation more towards their essentials rather than probably discretionary, but of course having a bit of it on the top of the agenda. How would you look at both of these? If you can throw some light on the retailer side first, and then further follow it up with the consumer side, please.
Sure. I think I'll throw light on the consumer side first, and then try and see if we can talk about the retailer part of it. From a consumer's angle, right? And since this is the home conclave, I can tell you one thing. I've discovered places in my house which I never knew there were. There are things that I need in my house which I never knew I would ever be asking for. There are there are work streams that's happened in my house, and I call it a work stream because I don't want to call it homework. That has happened in the last 1 month, which none of us thought we'd ever be exposed to. And I'm sure it's the way it is across for everybody. I'm not the only consumer who's going through this. We've suddenly, as middle class in this country, have exposed ourselves to doing real work in the house. And that's created new kinds of wants, new kinds of thoughts in our minds as essentials. So while we may call about things as essentials, we've made an application to the DPIIT, to the ministry, and also to the local self-governments here at various states, that the concept of essentials should be broadened. And the work from home essentials is one part of what one should look at. So that to a certain extent gives, let's say, a silver lining on the cloud as far as the home part of the business is concerned. Having said that, the fact is that consumers are not going to be feeling a sense of abundance in their brain as spending power, and at least for the next 3 months. And that's going to limit the kind of exposure that people would do to expenditures that they would think as discretionary. When we did the survey with our retailers, more than 800 of them surveyed this. Almost 80% of them were from the non-food sector, because most part of modern retail is non-food. And their feeling was that they could actually recover only after 6 months from the hit that they are going through now. And for most of them, it will take more than 12 months to recover. Yeah, so almost 25% of them felt that. 20 to 25% of them felt that they may actually shut down their operations altogether. And this is a worrying trend that we are seeing as retailers. So the sentiment for retail is not very high. The sentiment for consumers is in a kind of a shock. None of us thought that this is what we are going to go through. So these are tough times. But these are also times where I call it as a reboot the economy times. Because when you reboot, what used to exist before is not going to exist going forward. And various reboot thought processes will come into all our minds. As we speak, yesterday I had a call from some retailers who were saying that, would I get chance to sell my mobile phones, because everybody's asking for mobile phones. Somebody else asked, will I be able to sell various items that's relevant to infants? The third person asked, do I get a chance to sell the items that consumers are asking as they sit at home? Things like work chairs, work table, lights, and stuff like this. So there's a lot of new reboot items that's being asked for. I think we'll need to understand them. We'll need to capitalize. And governments are currently asking all our garment manufacturers whether they can sell lots more masks. So the need for stopping t-shirts being made to manufacture of masks is getting to become more important currently. So new categories, new initiatives, new thoughts is what I'll call as a reboot economy. So that's where we should go to currently.
Okay. But Mr. Kumar, but do you think when you say reboot, imagine, let's talk about our category. What kind of reboot do you think will have to be sort of initiated? What kind of reboot is what we as retailers need to go through? What do you think that we have to, what should be our fundamental thought process around that?
So I think at different planes, okay, reboot our understanding of the merchandise mix to start with. And depending upon who the particular manufacturer is, they will need to really go back and think what merchandise will be here and now. And for everything, I have a three-phase thought process. First thought process is, what do I need to survive currently? Because we are all in the survival mode currently. After that, it's about what do I need to do to revive? So when customers get onto the revival mode, businesses get onto revival mode, what do we put as precedence? And the third would be, what do I need to do for thrive? And that would be a different kind of context. And there I will put three things. One is the merchandise mix. For all these three phases would be very different. The second part is our economics and the financial mix. Again, it would be very different because if today somebody asks, what do you do for your survive? I will think, can I really afford to retain my talent? And that is the big chance, but big part of what we are all. Talent, because these are the guys who are going to keep us through the whole challenge. The second part is that talent, because it's also, we are human beings. We have to make sure that we support the people that we are in. So from a financial angle, that seems to become the important part currently. On the second part, it would be very different. But all of us know that we have to conserve cash. But at least in the survive and the revive mode. But how do we do that is the question that we'll need to ask. And for every business, it will be different. I do not want to say that it's the same for manufacturer who is selling furniture, to the same for a person who is selling lighting, same for a person who is selling lots of electronic products. It would be different for different people. The third angle of all this, I mean, after you look at finance, is our way of doing business. Safe shopping is here to stay, at least for the next 6 to 9 months. So what do we do as safe shopping initiatives? How do we portray to consumers that you can come and shop with us, or you can stay at home and shop with us? I can deliver it to your house. I can make sure that it is click and collect, what we call as the brick and collect kind of concept, the brick and click kind of concepts. I think all this needs to be really given a lot of importance to, because our entire operations is going to change. So these are the key thoughts that I have immediately.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. In fact, very interesting. Survive. Let's get into survival mode, then move into revive, and finally get into thrive. And of course, some of the points that Mr. Kumar has raised in terms of the how part is going to be in the the later part of our conversation as we go along. But still staying on the same thought of consumer sentiment and demand, because I mean, this is the what part, right? And then we move into the how part. So Manish ji, I mean, even yesterday when we were having a conversation last evening, we were talking about how India as a country responds to and how resilient we are as consumers and also as retailers. But what do you think is going through the consumer minds now? And Mr. Mathur, in fact, brought about the top of the mind and what could come slightly lower in terms of priority. What do you think is going through consumers' minds, and also what are they feeling in the current times and going into the next 6 to 9 months? I mean, that's as home retailers. And incidentally, just before you start off, I would like to just share one data point to all the panelists. So after having gone through a quick look at the kind of profile of registrations that we had, close to 40% of the the members today, or the attendees today, belong to the senior management and I would say executive management of companies. Close to about 30% of the members are in the mid management and the enabler segment, and 30% from whatever we see are in the front line and handling the field and handling the retail, the direct consumer as well. So we have a very wonderful mix, and in fact we have a few international delegates as well. And there's also requests that have been coming in for a bit of vernacularizing this and seeing if at least a couple of the speakers can share their thoughts in Hindi. So, I mean, this is just some feedback that I want to share with you. Yeah, please go ahead, Minister.
Yeah, so once again, good afternoon and welcome to all the participants who have joined the webinar, and also to the fellow panelists. And I hope that all you and your families are all safe and secure to begin with. Well, you know, this pandemic has impacted greatly and negatively to the entire economy all over the world. I see that every industry has been impacted by this, though, you know, with varying this. And I think, you know, this pandemic is unprecedented and very unpredictable. So, this is not a financial crisis. This is more of a healthcare crisis, which we have experienced for the very first time in our lives. We have never heard of this before. And the industry which will greatly get affected will be the retail industry, as I see, because of the cash flow issues. And I see at least 6 to 9 months or even more for us to recover from this. You know, slowdowns have been handled by all of us in the past, but lockdown is something very, very new to us. So in these circumstances, I think the consumers are extremely afraid. The behavior, it is very difficult to predict, but I think they will be confused. There will be fear of job losses. There will be fear of pay cuts. And under such circumstances where suddenly you have to work mostly from home, you're spending most of your time at home due to social distancing, not going out, life is going to change a bit for the next 2-3 quarters. I think all the high ticket value items decisions obviously will get postponed. People will not, you know, it's no more cool to be in a crowded place. So all these sales that we do during the Independence Day and Republic Day, etc., all that will get greatly impacted, I believe. People don't want to be in crowded places. There will be some changes happening at the offline store level in terms of social distancing and training given to our sales team, etc. So all these concerns, I think the most important concern at the moment the consumers have is of their own health and of the financial concern. Under these circumstances, I do not see them going out and buying anything which is a discretionary spend. They will be only looking at affordability and great deals. So this is something that is here to stay for some time, and that is a problem for retailers like us.
But Maniji, I understand that. But when you say that, there is always what's going on in the consumer's mind is a question of fear. There's also a question of security. That's understood. But like again, what Mr. Kumar was saying, or even Mr. Mathur was saying, there is going to be a certain need that is going to be there for our category as well. Do you foresee that? And if so, then what do you think is going to be in their minds?
Yeah, so I would like to say two things. One is, I think there will be a difference in the way each city will behave now, the consumers in every city, because some cities might be much more impacted than some of the districts or some of the smaller cities. So there will be a little difference in the consumer behaviors from these cities. Having said that, the only silver lining from home point of view, I would say, is as Mr. Rajagopalan rightly said, is you have spent so much time at home in the last 1 month. The silver lining is, you probably have realized that, I need certain things at home. For example, a dishwasher, or as Mr. Mathur said, a trimmer to, for a haircut, or things like that. Or I would say even a study desk or a chair, to work from home. So I think there is a small opportunity out there in terms of these smarter, affordable products to get sold. But high value products, definitely at this point in time, I think people are not going to be looking at it. And yeah.
I'll come back to that question, but a small opportunity, and there are hundreds and thousands of retailers of home waiting there to serve customers. So I think the opportunity probably needs to expand. On that note, I'm going to go across to Kavita ji, because Manish ji just now brought out a beautiful point saying that different cities are going to behave differently, right? And IKEA has in fact recently forayed into the online space as well in India. Of course, globally, you've been there for a while now. And you are facing, and I'm sure that as a company, you must be approaching this problem with a horses for courses approach in different countries. What do you see? I mean, I'm sure you're also getting quite a few trends on the online space in these months as well. What do you see as the larger view in terms of what IKEA is looking at in terms of handling at a global level? And what do you think that we as retailers in India should do, given the consumer demand and the sentiment are going to be weak?
Sure, Mahesh, that's a very good question. And it's good you ask about what the global sentiment is. I think this is one crisis where all countries across the world stand quite united together. The crisis, and both in terms of the duration and the intensity, is different across different markets maybe, but all of us are kind of standing in it together. And if you look at IKEA globally, of course, we are equally challenged across the markets, particularly because we've had the epicenter thanks to China. China is one of the largest markets for us in the world. And then you can see that later it's moved on to Europe and now the US. So quite significantly, we have a situation where our stores are not open in most cities across the world. But the silver lining here has also been e-commerce and digital, right? We have actually been able to engage and reach out and support our consumers in multiple markets because of technology being a big enabler. And we can see that in India as well. If you look at the lockdown that all of us have been going through, e-commerce has actually been a big winner, but maybe also a big savior for all of us in these times. This is been the lifeline for us for a lot of these social groups as well. And that's exactly the trend that we are seeing across the world. And we can see that in most markets, we are seeing a 3x, 4x increase in demand when it comes to e-commerce. And that has been the channel that people have actually used. And some of us rightly discussed in this forum, all of us are spending immense amount of time at home. I think Kumar said we're discovering parts of the home that we really didn't know existed, or we are also having to look at various tasks within the home. But I also think that from that standpoint, sentiment related to the home is also becoming very predominant. And for all of us, even before the crisis, home was always something that was very emotional, right? And it is getting even more predominance now. The question is to look at what are the needs of the consumers in this time. For all of us who are working from home, it has become even more important for us to equip ourselves with a study table and ergonomic chair. For all of us who have children at home, keeping them engaged 24 hours a day is an extreme challenge, and maybe home furnishing has a role to play there. All of us are cooking and cleaning on our own, and then maybe there are solutions that we can offer to our consumers. There is a lot of buying happening, storing happening, because we don't know when we are going to have the next access to supplies at some point in time. Again, a huge opportunity when it comes to storing and organizing things at home. Apart from that, we can also see that people suddenly have a lot of time in their hands. There isn't a long commute and so on. So people are also picking up a lot of hobbies, right? People are trying new things at home. And that is also another place where I still see an opportunity for us to look at and think of solutions, particularly solutions that can actually offer value to our consumers. So I still see that there are pockets of opportunity even within the home furnishing space. I totally understand that when it comes to some of the larger spends, some of the larger spends which are discretionary in nature, people maybe wanted to buy a sofa, maybe they're going to postpone it by another 6 months because they think that maybe there is so much uncertainty and there is no clarity about the future. But there is also the smaller needs, the other requirements, the thinking around value for money that is still going to dominate. And it is for us to capitalize on some of those opportunities that could come along. And this is exactly the sentiment and the consumer behavior that we are seeing across the global markets as well at this time.
Interesting perspective. In fact, Kavitaji, I think you have brought out a beautiful point, which I think most of us can actually look at as a great opportunity. The more we work from home, the more we start loving our home more than our workplace. I think we should probably look at it as an opportunity where we look at more being done for the home. Maybe not in the short term, hopefully in the longer term for sure. But having said that, you were talking about the online multiplier effect that's happening in terms of the online demand. So how do you see that in India? Is it across India, or do you see it limited to metros, or do you see it limited to the two-tier cities? How do you see that, or is it a pan-India phenomenon?
I think it is definitely there in the top cities in India for sure. And also I see the trend now in a lot of the tier 2 cities. There was a recent research coming in that talked about 25 to 30% of consumers are doing their first shopping online. Multiple categories, be it food, be it groceries, be it services, and a whole host of things. So I think that trend is here to stay. Also because the lockdown is not something that has been here for a 7-day or a 10-day period. We will actually maybe be in this situation, at least if it is until the 3rd of May, we're talking about 40 days. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit. And most of us are getting used to engaging online. And almost all research points to the fact that this behavior is here to stay. A lot of us have discovered the convenience associated with that behavior, and maybe we are going to use it in the future as well. It is also important for us to look at the fact that it is not that on the 3rd of May, we will be able to completely go out and start living the life that we lived in February. It is going to take a sign to get back to that situation. And if you look at the sentiments in general of consumers, they are going to avoid crowded places. There is also a sentiment where a lot of realization is coming onto consumers in terms of consumption itself. Overconsumption maybe is going to take a backseat. People are going to be a little more careful about why they are buying something. Do they really need it? And it is going to be a very important criteria or a variable that is going to drive demand in the future. And then I also see that on the other front, maybe some of the other concerns related to health. We also see so many images of how nature is healing. So I also feel that sustainability and environment and some of those things are going to become more predominant factors that we will begin to consider in the future. So while there is the here and now, the short term that we are talking about and how do we get past that, there is also some changes in behavior for the future that maybe we should actually prepare for. And that is equally true in the home furnishing space as well.
Interesting. Ashiji, I'm going to just borrow a few words that Kavitaji was talking about. She talked of pockets of opportunity. She talked of a huge demand coming online from across India. You have the, I think you have an online space as well, and you're also embarking on a whole lot of physical stores. So where do you see this going? So as from the consumer sentiment perspective, we move to the pockets of opportunity that present to ourselves. What do you see as innovations that we need to, in fact, I'm borrowing from a few questions that are coming on the side of the sidebar as well. What do you think that we need to do as retailers to absorb these pockets of opportunity, take the leverage on the multiplier effect that's happening on the online space, and that seems to be an all over all India behavior? What do you think we should do, please?
Sure. I think, I'll probably echo what all the other panelists have spoken about. We absolutely live in super challenging times. I think that's a given. The second part that's also a given is that this is not a 1 month, 45-day, 2 month phenomena. Challenges are going to be there for an extended period of time. I'm a big believer in embracing the whatever the biggest challenge is, and then trying to look for opportunity, which is kind of the point everybody else made. I think the biggest challenge with the situation we have at hand is the level of uncertainty. Literally, none of us know what tomorrow morning will bring to us. Whether in 1 month, 2 months, as large parts of the earth sort of become warmer, will the virus reduce? I don't know. I mean, I'm just making this up, right? So uncertainty is really the biggest thing which is playing on everyone's mind, including the consumer. Now, what are the things that are fairly certain? Some of the things that are certain, the consumer will definitely be living in a certain amount of concern and fear and stress, right? That's the one part which we can be certain about. What is the level? How long will that extend, etc.? I think time will tell. In terms of your specific question around how can we think about innovation, I think some of the panelists spoke about innovations or discussions around along product dimension. Which is whether there is more work from home suitable products available, or products not applicable to us. We are a furniture business, but for example in IKEA's case, maybe storage becomes more important and so forth. I think the other part which can be a big source of innovation is at the cusp of using technology and marrying it with physical retail. And how does one think about it creatively? I think most often we all look at either pure physical retail or pure digital retail as two sort of extremes of the continuum. And actually a large part of the I think the audience today also, and large part of retail in India naturally is more on the physical retail world. I think I'll give you an example. Now, quite likely that less consumers will walk into stores because of the concerns around social distancing. That's quite likely. I don't think we can run away from that. I mean, of course, you'd all like for that to get solved completely, but that's something we have to think about. That could be a jolly well reality for at least the next 6, 9, 12 months, maybe even longer. Now, in the context of that, how do we provide that quote unquote touch and feel experience to the customer, especially for larger products, from the comfort of their homes, right? When we do have an asset in the form of a store or products available in a store. Just sort of today we are having this conference over video call, right? 3 months back, Mahesh, when we met, I don't think you would have imagined that we'll do this kind of conversation, in-depth conversation over a video call, and that you will have an audience for that, and it will be a high-quality conversation. It was unimaginable. Let's accept it, right? Now, can that thought be extended to some of our selling processes? One of the small things that we are trying to do, and we rolled it out actually 10 days before the lockdown finally happened, and we hope that we'll pick it up once deliveries are allowed, wherever the government comes up with clear regulations on that, and use that as an asset when let's say a person can, or even I would arguably say somebody cannot be present in a store, right? One thing we are trying to do is to have our brand ambassadors, our customers. Sometimes, obviously many of our team members have our products. For example, I am sitting on a chair, which is obviously another ladder chair, right? Can we provide a video walkthrough to potential consumers with products that are either in consumers' homes or in any of our stores with no customers in the store, but one team member or two team members present in the store, right? I'm just giving that one example to this, I think there is a, constraints, expose the creativity which is inside all of us. And I think the next few months are going to see, while of course there is, there is massive pain, right? All of us know that. There is no question about it. There is massive pain of all kinds, all businesses, consumers not turning up, cash flows are impacted, salaries have to be paid, rents have to be managed. So challenges, I think, they are dime a dozen. I don't think there is, beyond a point we can keep dwelling about the challenges. They all that does is depress all of us. I think what I'm really personally hopeful is that, this will lead all of us down paths of dramatic innovations, because a lot of times small innovations won't work. So we should all, at least I would push myself and us as a team to really think about, dramatically innovative answers. What those are, beyond a point, nobody can say, because you have to try 20 things, some will work, some will not. I very much also, I'll also touch upon one point that is a very, very relevant point. And I'm personally, business is on one side, but personally as a human being, I'm genuinely hopeful of that. I do think and hope that this experience will lead all of us to a slightly more thoughtful way of life. Whether that means that, we reflect a lot more on what we consume, whether it manifests itself in us taking care of people around us better, or taking care of the environment around us better. While it's a massive crisis and a real problem we have on hand, but if that's one good thing that can come out of all of this, is all of us, whether as businessmen or human beings, we all become thoughtful about what we do, what we consume, how we interact with the environment around us. I think that can definitely be a silver lining as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Ajay. Well thought and well said, actually, in terms of we being better human beings as we are as home retailers as well. But from here, I'm going to take this to the next level of conversation where Mr. Mathur sir, I'll again add one more data point. Among the audience that we have today, close to about 30% are from large format retail and I would say national retail in that sense. Close to about 30% are city-based retailers or regional retailers, and then another 40% are single store or two-store retailers in a single city. So we've got a mix of retailers from different, again, say formats, right? So what Ashish was talking about was use of technology in stores, and he brought out those examples which Urban Ladder is doing. Very interesting example. So what would you recommend, sir, as the in-store experience elements that we should look at if we were to bring customers back? If we are to bring customers back, what should be the in-store elements that we should look at? Technology is one aspect. We could talk about technology first, go around the panel, and come back to the other part, which is the human element. I want to spend a little more time on that. To just do a quick time check, we are exactly midway, and we have another 45 minutes to go, out of which 30 minutes will be conversation. And we have 3 areas to address. One is the technology part, second is the communication part, and of course third is the salespeople part. So if you can share your thoughts around the technology inside store from retailers in total. I mean, do not limit yourself only to the large retailers who have the ability and the I would say bandwidth to do it. Also consider the smaller retailers in mind, please.
See, the first fundamental thing which I believe is that we will have to have our communication, a continuous communication with our customers and potential customers. That's going to be very essential, and unless we do that, we will not be in touch with them and not understand their needs. So one is important to be in touch with the customers, continuously understand their needs that are required. Now for that, after having done that, the social distancing definitely will create an impact. People will be a little reluctant to come into it. And technology adaptation is going to be the key in the future. Right? There are different technologies. People are creating the small websites, and endless aisles could be done, where people could be, have walkthroughs through various systems. Even a simple walkthrough through things like going on to a Zoom or a Teams or any such mediums can be taken to the customers to explain the products. People may have to quickly adopt to doing some renderings or taking out some videos, and videos will play a very, very important element. It's not an expensive proposition, but how a product looks, how it works. If small videos can be taken and put up onto the YouTube, if the customers, smaller retailers can adapt to it. So there are many technology adaptations, and there is no one single solution that can be given. It's the affordability of the retailer, but what best he can do out of trying to take out videos using YouTube, trying to see if they have the websites, using the websites to communicate, trying to see whether the customers can come onto the Zoom and give them a walkthrough or have walkthroughs to that. Right? So these are going to be all the adaptations that one will have to do. Help them out with the designing and then send them back. Some of them may want some inputs as to how they would their rooms look, like Mr. Kumar also mentioned. I think one fundamental thing that we must realize that from a small time of maybe spending 3-4 hours at home as a family, we've been spending 24 hours with the family. So when you're spending 24 hours with your family, the whole needs are changing of the family and whole adaptation. It's not just work from home where you require a simple chair and a table. That is the basic functional need. But I'm sure if all of us introspect, so many things will come in our minds as to how our furniture could have been or the spaces in our house could have been used. Now, can we support coming up with some solutions for these and forward to the customers? Can we put this onto YouTube so that people can go onto the YouTube and see what are the solutions for such corners? What are the solutions where 4 people can independently do their jobs without disturbing each other? There may be many of these problems if we start thinking that what people would have gone through in their house when they are 24 hours together, and bring out those simple solutions and offer to the customers through technology. It would be a great adaptation that is required, because I personally feel that for next 3 months, there will be tremendous drop in the stores, and it is only through technology that we will be able to approach. Each one will have to think of what is best for his retailing, what is best for his affordability, and then adopt those technologies and put in. So just to summarize, it could be from simple videos on YouTube to having meetings on Zooms or Teams or any of the platforms available. A walkthrough, taking the people with the camera, and then they can visualize and see these stores, shoot the stores and put it on Google Stores walkthroughs so that people know what the products are available. Do a bit of designing for their house and send it back to them so that what color combination suits, give them an options so they need not come to the store. Specifications, showing them that if any different size of people sitting on it, how comfortable a particular product is. So these are small things that many of the retailers can do and connect with their customers.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think you summarized it in the interest of time. Thank you so much. But Manishji, what are your views? How do you think the large retailer and the small retailer, and what Mr. Mathur talked of in terms of technology, how much of it is quickly doable? Because there's also the question of time, the question of affordability, as what you are saying. How much of it do you think quickly doable, and how much of it do you think is going to actually convert from thought to action?
So I think as a ratio of spends between digital marketing and your conventional marketing, activities, that advertising that we were spending, there obviously was already a shift that was taking place towards digital marketing and social media and all that. So I think that will only get accelerated now. As Mr. Mathur said, technology will dominate now. The future of retail will be pan out through technology. And things like augmented reality, virtual reality is something that we were in fact already working on, as Ashish also explained. And people can just walk through their homes through that whole experience. So this will all, according to me, this will definitely get accelerated to a large extent. There'll be a lot of personalized marketing messages that will take place to the consumers through digital marketing, and the overall spends on digital marketing will go way beyond now, and almost maybe 50-50 to the conventional, or even higher at this point in time.
But Kavita ji, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. Both of them are talking about spending and a lot of communication being more on the digital space compared to the physical space. What about in-store experience, especially for people who have invested in large infrastructure, large stores? I mean, I'm talking of all the large format retailers out there. And even the small retailers who have, when I say small retailers, I'm talking of in terms of 1 city, 2 city, but they have 5,000, 10,000 square feet stores. I mean, how are they going to be able to justify their in-store experience vis-a-vis whatever they are doing on the digital space? So do you think that there's going to be a diametric shift out there, or is it going to be still a balance that we need to strike between the physical and digital experiences?
Good question. Yeah, very good question. I think again we should just for a minute think about the consumer sentiment here. There are going to be two kinds of consumers. Consumers who are very, very, very concerned about the crisis situation and health, because of which they do not want to go outside, right? And then there is going to be another segment of consumers who actually want to go out, break free, find an opportunity to engage with the other people, right? And it is the second set of consumers who will actually go to a large format store, to a shopping mall, whenever we are in a position to open some of this. And there, the biggest chunk of the experience is going to come from a lot more of personalization, maybe engaging the consumers in a good way in terms of co-workers, working with them, maybe online shopping, some kind of support there in terms of personalization. Maybe those are things that are actually going to help those consumers who are actually going to visit a large format retailer. The other thing also to think of is, are there some very simple technology solutions that we can look at for people who maybe don't want to speak to a coworker in the retail format, but who wants to just experience the store and buy it on their own, right? Is there some mobile app, some kind of a digital engagement, QR codes and things like that, which actually offer people on-demand videos where instead of a coworker standing in front of the customer because of the social distancing norms, you could actually have a video that speaks to the consumer and says, these are the features, these are the tips and tricks, these are the functionalities in the product, and maybe what kind of a need does it meet, right? So we have to think of some of those quick innovations that can actually lead to some greater engagement, particularly for those that are visiting a physical format. But I also think that it will take us some time. It's very difficult to predict what that time is for people to really come into the physical format, right? And that is where I think the whole element of leveraging digital capabilities becomes very important. A lot of us might have very simple websites, but maybe it is also about going back to basics and looking at how are we making the shopping experience good for those who are coming to a website? How are we helping them in terms of searching and finding products that they need for the solutions that they're looking for, right? And just as we spoke about this particular conference being hosted online, there is also an opportunity for us to engage with consumers online. Imagine a situation where consumers could demand for speaking to a coworker online and understanding what they should do if they had to set up a kitchen on their own, right? Or imagine the ability to have planning solutions that consumers can very easily play around with because they are built on very good technology platforms. So there's a plethora of options available, both in terms of technology enablement as well as what we can do by leveraging our co-workers and our people in the retail format who will actually want to come to one of them. It is just about finding the ones that will have the biggest benefit and what amount of effort it takes for us to build some of those solutions quickly. But I think that this is the time for us to think of all the ideas that are possible, out of the box ideas that we can actually bring to bear in the retail environment, both virtual as well as physical.
Interesting. So in fact, what you said in terms of connecting to consumers online, we are running a series where we're doing a consumer interaction with Know Your Wood and Know Your Paint, and No, amazing kind of response. 100, 150 people register to understand the difference between particle board and MDF and solid board and MDF and so on. So yeah, that's pretty enlightening. But just again borrowing from the same point, because technology seems to be a buzzword, and almost every retailer out here is going to be thinking about, okay, what are the things that I need to do as far as technology implementation is concerned, right from a website to the advanced chatbots and so on. But I have this question now, moving to Ashish. Ashish, do you think, what is the role of the salesperson? We are now talking of zero contact transactions happening. Customers don't want to have contact with customers, I mean, with retailers, and then still have their entire transaction done all the way up to the delivery. So what do you think is the role of the salesperson from two aspects? One is for the retailers on the attendee friends of ours, and for me as well. What is it we need to do or expect from our salespeople, because they are not foot soldiers anymore, right? So they are the people who actually make the cash registers ring. And in these times, when all the more struggle times, the first thing that will come is, let's reduce costs, let's knock off manpower, right? So I mean that's like a typical logical thing that happens. How do we ensure that our salespeople are more than foot soldiers and they actually are our guardian angels? So what do you think is the role of salespeople in the current times?
Sure. See, I'm just going to touch upon one aspect which you asked earlier, and I think this may be relevant because for a lot of smaller physical retailers, making significant technology shifts may not be that easy or that swift. So I want to touch upon that point. I think there are a lot of opportunities for innovation for physical retailers also, keeping in mind the years of the consumers, right? I'm just making this up, right? But give you a small example. Right now, for example, we obviously are working to ensure that all our delivery trucks, whenever deliveries are allowed, we are trying to make sure that all our delivery trucks are fully sanitized, right? And trying to create a fully sanitized process. Now, one of the small innovations that we are doing is to have a false surface inside all the delivery trucks, right? Which is sanitized before every day in the morning before the truck leaves, and it has to be sort of a replaceable surface, replace fast, clean up every two surfaces for each truck, right? So giving that one small example to make the point that I think for physical stores it has to be thought about very smartly, both from very strong process implementations. So the process of retailing will need to go through some degree of changes, right? But I think there is also room for finding those small and big innovations which make the customer comfortable coming into the store and going through their purchase process. And I think we will definitely see, and I'm sure people will come up with lots of innovations, but we should not assume that just because we have a physical store, we are dead on arrival. I don't think we should work with that assumption. Sure, there'll be some time, there is a regulatory framework under which all of us need to operate. But once that is lifted, we have to sort of, figure out how we create that confidence and trust for the customer in our own ways. So that's one point. The second, sort of, coming to the question you asked, Maheshji, about, the teams, right? That I think really that is I don't think the role of the sales team member or the retail staff goes away. However, if walk-ins are going to be lower as what many people are expecting, right? How does a retail organization support its entire retail staff? I think is definitely a question mark. And I'm probably sort of touching about something which is a sensitive topic for everybody, right? But it's important that we think about those realities also. If let's say in one store yesterday there were a store, because of the revenue it was generating, could support 50 people. Maybe 4 months later, or in January it could support 50 people. Maybe in 3 months later, 4 months later, it cannot support 50 people, and that's a real question to be asked. One approach to that is that because the economy is in such a shape that it's not even clear that those team members, if you ask them to leave, whether they'll find alternate answers, right? So one answer is that you take a more humanitarian approach and more socialist approach, and everybody takes a little bit of a hit and they're able to retain as many people as possible. That's one approach, but I think, this is one of the unfortunate realities of our times. There are no easy answers to this question. I mean, my sympathy is the government of every country, where there is a real health problem, there is a real economic problem, and there is a real socio-economic problem which is leading from the health and economic problem. And a similar context, applies to all of us as people in business. That we have a real economic problem to manage for every business. At the same time, there is a real humanitarian problem. And I think, I don't think any of us, especially in this environment, can take a hard stand at one end of the spectrum, right? Somewhere we'll have to find the balance of those two very, very real challenges. And maybe there are some organizations which are sort of, large, very cash-rich organizations which can weather these storms better. But for the largest majority of businesses, most businesses, especially in India, which is obviously we are a big poor country, most businesses operate on thin cash structures, right? So these choices are very real and not easy choices. The best thing one can try and do is to say, we pull out costs from real estate and plow that back into people who, continue to be, better and stronger salespeople. They learn how to do sales on phone, on video calls, on chat, and we sweat our real estate assets a lot better. That's probably the best one of the things we can think of.
Yeah. So
overall, I think it's not going to be easy.
Got it. So Madhav Saab and Manishji, from your quick word on, both of you run national chains and therefore have lots and lots of frontline soldiers. So what is it that you're looking at in terms of your salesperson's role? Of course, one part is the rationalization aspect that Ashish talked about, and also the in terms of splitting the real estate and the manpower together. But what is it that you think is the role of the salesperson going forward with technology also inside the store, like what Kavita ji was talking about? So there's going to be tools of the trade available with the retailer owners in that sense. So, but what are they going to do as far as their human assets are concerned?
I think there are two types of salespeople. One would be the foot soldiers, and one would be the store people, store salespeople. Now, in both the cases, the roles are different. The foot soldiers are dealing mostly with the dealers as far as we are concerned and our franchisees. I think the fundamental in both the cases is same. They will have to continue to motivate the teams across and try and sort of communicate with them, communicate with the customers on a regular basis, move their roles more from being offline people to doing online, as Ashish was mentioning. How can we use them more on online to be communicating with the customers so that we are able to keep that bonding, that relationships, understanding our customers' needs regularly. I think that's something that we will have to continuously do, because it's a tough time where for next 6 months or 9 months, we really don't know how things will span on to. We have to also ensure that from the humanitarian angle, that we ensure the goals are maintained for these people. But utilization of them, the new way, the processes, they can change. Working both in the field and in the stores can change. How their interaction with the consumers can change, because foot soldiers who are interacting more with the franchises and dealers together work towards getting into the consumer mode, trying to be more of a eyes, ears, and nose for the marketing and the design team to understand what the consumers' issues are, what problem consumers are facing, and how this information can flow back so that the innovations can happen in terms of servicing the customers, coming out with new products, coming out with new solutions for the customers. So I think this is something that we are trying to work with our teams on a regular basis,
right.
Upskilling them and reskilling them on the digital front, because digitization is going to be the way the future is going to be big. I think we all learned quite a bit during this period on this.
Right.
So these are the main things that we are focusing on.
Right. So it's primarily fundamentals remain the same, but upskill and reskill them to make them more technology enabled so that they can handle consumers better. Manish ji, quickly.
Yeah, same points. Soft skill development at the retail sales level is very important. That most important. That is something that we'll be focusing on. Soft skill training and how to deal in this post-crisis, because healthcare crisis is something that they have not dealt with before. The sales So this is something very unique. So soft skills are going to play a very important role. How to deal with the consumers, how to speak to them, how to maintain the social distancing, and also use technology and help them to influence their buying decisions.
Right. So we have 10 minutes to go before we get into question and answer. So like a rapid fire, just quick answers. 3 questions I have, and this is for the. This is based on quite a few of the questions that have come in. So I'm just going to ask you a question. So first question, and you can quickly go around in sequence. So first question is products that you will see a sales up and products that will see a sales down. 2 products each. Please, Manish ji.
Home office will go up. High ticket value items like sofa, etc. Expensive luxury items will go down.
Sir.
Sorry, is it? Yeah.
Madhur sir, your views.
Yeah, so I agree. Home office items like the tables and chairs will go up. The other items would be that some items which are adaptable to make your existing high ticket items like a home office, those will have to be innovated and brought in. What will go down is in the areas of sofas and dining tables.
Okay. Kavita ji, your views?
I agree with what the others have said. I think work from home solutions, study tables, chairs, etc. is definitely seeing an upswing. I also see maybe children's furniture and children's linked articles, learn and play. Maybe there is an opportunity for an upswing there as well. I completely agree when it comes to discretionary spend, sofas, dining tables, maybe people are going to park it for a later point in time.
Noted. Ashish ji.
Definitely study category, but I think easy individual seating also I can see and more of a demand, especially once people have bought the study chair, but they need lots of other places to sit because you get bored of sitting on the study chair. So I think easy individual, comfortable individual seating, we expect an uptick, and that's one thing we are investing. Definitely sort of beds, dining. Expecting is going to be a bummer. Sofas, I think time will tell. But if people go out lesser and entertain more at home, sofas probably will be an important category.
So second question again. Yeah, got it. So understood. Work from home solutions is going to be right on top, and living room furniture and bedroom furniture seem to be not on the preference list as I see it. At least in the short term, as you said, time only will tell as far as the long term is concerned. Question number 2, and I'll go reverse. Ashish, in terms of media mix recommendation, digital versus conventional, just give a percentage in terms of value.
For us going forward?
For you going forward, and recommendation to all the retailers out here.
So
digital versus conventional, just say 50-50, 40-60, whatever.
For us, conventional 60, digital 40, maybe 70-50.
Sorry, so 60% conventional and 40% digital.
Yeah, maybe 60-70, yeah.
Okay, right. So that's conventional. Okay, and Madhur sir?
Yeah, we would also be in the same range, about 60-40. Primarily because conventional is more expensive than the digital.
Yeah, so you're talking value-wise, right?
Yes, value-wise.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't ask the question in terms of time and effort because I know it's pretty different. Manish ji, your view?
I would say digital 40 and conventional 60.
60.
Because the cost of conventional itself is very expensive.
Yeah. So, yeah, even if you do a bit, it's going to become a bite. Yeah. And what about you, Kavita ji? What's your view?
I think I would like to have an ambition of 50-50 also, because some of the conventional media, like for example, out of home, etc., is maybe not going to see as much of an uptake. Whereas television and OTT, if you look at Netflix and on-demand channels, maybe that is where people are spending a lot of time. Right? So that, and plus digital and performance marketing. participating in such international sessions. So I would like to have an ambition for a 50-50 if possible.
So yeah, so the one big swing is that the digital spends are likely to go up to 40% of budgets. That's quite a big number.
I mean, for us, it's a come down, by the way.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I understand.
For us, it's a come down from 80 to 40.
80 to 40. Okay. And my last question, before we ask for one final view from all of you, in terms of one strong recommendation to every single retailer out here. Last question is, how long do you see in terms of the path to recovery? Some of you answered it in parts earlier, but just put a month to it, 6, 9 or 12.
When you're saying recovery, are you saying at full recovery or partial recovery?
I'm talking of we as home retailers limping back to normalcy. I'm not talking of, and let's say coming back to, let's say, last year's performance levels.
I would put it as 12 months.
12 months. From the time the lockdown is released. Is that right?
That's right.
Manish ji?
9 months and beyond.
And beyond. And Kavita ji, are you more optimistic?
I would also go for 12 months.
12 months, okay. And Ashish bhai?
I would also go with 12 months as an industry, but I also think the market will resettle. Lots of players will not be there. So maybe for the best players, maybe for IKEA or Godrej, maybe it is lesser.
So, I mean, the larger consensus seems to be 9 months to 12 months. But just borrowing from Ashish, just a very wild question, nothing to, I mean, this just occurred out of the blue. Do you think, as, I mean, quite a few of the large retailers sitting out here, do you think, and what Ashish said right now about a bit of consolidation that may happen in the market, do you see large retailers and small retailers actually getting into collaboration mode, sharing inventories, sharing design specialization, sharing media approaches? Do you see that happening at all? A yes, no would be, or a maybe would be fine. Just to get a sense of it.
For sure.
Okay, that's a yes from Ashish. Okay, Mathur sir?
I think it will depend in the regions. I don't think so it will happen across board.
There's a maybe. Yeah, and Manish ji?
Maybe something to look at, but maybe
something to look at. And Kavita ji, you may say no, I guess.
No, I think there is a possibility. It is a maybe. We should explore everything that is possible.
No, because I think that somewhere that kind of a thought may bring, let's say, the heavier muscle comes together to actually help the younger and smaller retailers, in this period of, in these times, to actually consolidate better on the inventory or on their manpower or on their ability to scale. And that would be a great thing. Fine, fantastic.
Provocative about it, Mahesh, I don't think anybody helps anybody. That's not life. I think if two people have a need, then they will find a way to collaborate, whereas earlier they may not.
Very true, very true. And I think we are in that kind of a time when everybody would love to collaborate and would need to collaborate. That's what I think is going to happen. So I'm going to ask for one final recommendation from each of the industry captains here, addressed to the retailer fraternity who's watching you. One major recommendation with probably, let's say, a phrase at you end, let's say digital marketing or rescale your salespeople or whatever comes to your mind as fundamental and needs to be done, like mantras that we will take. So 4 mantras that we as retailers can take back at the end of this conversation.
So Mahesh, I think technology adaptation would be a big thing for all.
Right, sir. Okay, got it. Technology adaptation.
I can just think of a single word, and I would say agility.
You would say agility.
Agility.
And expand a bit on it, please. Agility in terms of what? Response to market?
Agility in terms of your feet have to be on the ground. The leaders have to also know what is going on, be in touch with your consumers, and be agile with all the requirements that comes out of this whole crisis period. Whether it be HR or in merchandising level or at the advertising level, whichever department. Being agile is very important. Being quick is important. Because we may have many strategies together, but it's important that we implement without any issues, seamlessly.
Right. Fine, fair enough. And Kavita ji?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, we all know this, that we all tend to make estimations and forecast what the future will look like. We also know that most of us will get it wrong and the reality will be quite different. I think in that context, I would just leave us with two thoughts. One is we need to think out of the box and we need to think about how can we transform our business, what are new ideas, new ways of working that we can explore. But more importantly, within our people, within the co-workers of the organization, I think we need to create a mindset of resilience, right? There will be a lot of challenges. There will be many difficulties that will come along, but how do we kind of persevere and beat those and still succeed? That mindset, particularly because as an industry is made of co-workers, our frontline co-workers, or co-workers who are working in different functions. If they have that attitude and mindset of resilience, we can win through every single crisis. That is my thought.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Ashish ji?
I'm going to copy one word from what Manish Bhai said, agility. In that level of uncertainty, agility, to move past whatever it is. A second sort of, which is more around business and whatever. I think the second, I will also, one second word, which I think, which is kindness. I think these are stressful times for everybody. Yourselves, your teams, your partners, everybody around you. I think it's important to be kind first to yourselves also and to everybody around us. थोड़ी सी हिंदी में, I'll use a word in Hindi. गुंजाइश. I think थोड़ी सी गुंजाइश अपने लिए और थोड़ी सी अपने environment के लिए छोड़ना जरूरी है, because otherwise it can get too stressful for people.
Well said, well said. Ashish ji is in his philosophical best today.
Retail में हम लोग गुंजाइश ही छोड़ के रखी है since many years now.
That's right, Sachi mein. I think beautifully said, because that kindness needs to be coming back. Agility is the order of the day. Technology adaptation is important, and resilience is a word that we need to sort of carry with us. Fantastic words indeed, and I hope all the retailer friends out there are listening to us. So I'm just going to pick up a few questions which the team has sort of asked me to put across, and with specific panelists in mind. So the first question is actually to Mathur Saab. Sir, do you see the market shifting more to B2B orders rather than B2C?
No, I think the growth rates in B2C will continue because over a period of time there will be issues like people moving into new homes which would be occupied by them. The nucleus families will continue to move out because of now people staying more at home and finding it difficult to manage in the smaller places. So I feel that B2C market will continue. It is only that people will start looking at more of an affordable products, more at something which they can manage in short term and long term. So there may not be major shift on B2C to B2B. In fact, it could be the other way, with a lot of companies now thinking whether they should have more of their people working from homes rather than from offices, because giving up space in office would help them in reducing the overall cost of operating. So it's not going to shift the market from B2C to B2B.
Okay. Okay. So another question that this is just I would probably put this to Kavita ji. If when the high ticket items like furniture, and we all said that may go down, what is your view about furnishing and kitchenware items? Do you think that these will go up, or are they also likely to be the same as the high value items as well?
I think it really depends on how we solution some of this. So for example, if you think of the living room and you are thinking of buying a new sofa, and now you feel that you want to actually delay buying that new sofa, one of the other options is, what if you could change the cushion covers and bring in a fresh life back to the living room? If you are able to think of solutions of that nature, it is still the ticket items, the easy change, the affordable home furnishing articles that will actually see an increase, because a lot of people will opt for smart solutions which are looked at as value for money. So I still see that there is an opportunity there. But of course, if you look at large ticket items like kitchens or like storage units and wardrobes and things like that, we need to wait and watch, because there are two parts to it. One is there are a lot of people who have bought homes, who would like to monetize that home, who would like to either save the rent that they are spending today or maybe give it out on rent and earn some money in the process, right? They would want to furnish those homes with speed, right? Then there will be another bucket where people have actually stopped buying homes. And so there is going to be a downward trend in terms of new homes that are coming up that need furnishing. So both these trends are going to coexist. But having said that, I think when it comes to small items of textile and decor and things like that, that actually is a smart solution for people to look at easy change.
Yeah, so wonderful. So you're saying that there could be we'll have to wait and watch, but the smaller items may not get as impacted as probably the larger ones. Is that my understanding?
That's right.
So the next question, now this question actually can be answered by both Mathur Saab and Manishji. How will the Indian customized furniture and interiors business get affected? This is a great worry for many SMEs. So, this is largely about the people who come home, sit there and work with us and actually do the entire home. So that's a serious question that's coming from the SME industry. Manishji?
I believe, this kind of business is reasonably a high ticket purchase at one go. And at the moment, the moods are very different. And to have people coming inside your house and getting the work done is during, let's say, a redecoration. I don't think that is going to happen. And because, it's a high ticket value. I don't see that, that might get postponed unless it is a brand new home or something like that.
Just a quick word.
Yeah, renovations may take a back seat, but new homes, people would definitely want to be done up. But there will be a lot of skepticism in people to allow too many people to come and work. So the type of interiors that people may want to do may also undergo a change. People may think about going in for certain ready-made furnitures if they are really wanting to furnish, or continue with their existing furniture. They are moving into new for some more time before they really take up the jobs.
So bit of a dampener for the SMEs.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Ashish ji and Kavita, you could answer this question. I think probably we could wind up with this. Saying that the deals would be one of the most important aspects that digital marketing typically has used to draw customers. So, but what about the add-ons? The value-added services. Do you think that that's going to be a major force to reckon with in terms of pulling back customers? That's an interesting question that's come up. Value-added services, they talk of cashbacks, EMI offers, add-on services, after-sales services, and so on and so forth. Do you think that will form a stream of revenue and also an incentive for customers to purchase than just pure deals or flat offs?
Yeah. So my thought is deals alone is never the puller. There has to be something more than that in terms of the product offer, features, functionalities, and the overall design that's actually going to get customers, particularly if you're looking at loyal customers in the long term. Then, of course, I understand the need for services. If you're looking at cashback offers or things of that nature, it could definitely be an enabler, particularly in the mindset where consumers are trying to save and not spend as much money. Right? But I also see the other end of value-added services. We've been speaking a lot about, let's say, a video conference call to help a consumer furnish the home, right? Maybe a service linked to planning your kitchen, or a service linked to planning your study, or even simple shopping assistance of some kind and some support of some kind. Those kinds of services are also going to be big enablers, and I think consumers will really see a lot of value from some of those services as well.
Wonderful. Ashishji, quick view.
Yeah, I think the price consciousness of the customer is quite likely to go up. How that manifests, whether in discounting or etc., I think it's definitely going to happen. From our side, we are very clear. We are sort of going to stay short of discounts. But I think the value-added services, for example, reupholstery of sofas could jolly well be a possibility because people are spending more time at homes. But at the same time may not want to invest in a full new sofa. So I think we will see some of that also becoming real, and some of the value-added product solutions that Kavita spoke about earlier, whether sofa covers, etc. I think those will also, be relevant to consumers. I think the last, I think the value of installment purchasing is probably going to go up as well.
Okay. But in fact, I was speaking to some of the finance EMI, the finance providers, and they were also obviously waiting and watching cautiously, but they believe that at some point of time that's going to see an upsurge. Yeah, thank you so much, Ashish. In fact, friends, as an industry insider for the last more than 2.5 decades, and having sort of pledged my life and career to the business of home and home interiors, I think what all our industry experts today have said resonates quite well with all of us, especially in terms of the agility that we talked of, the adaptability that we talked of, the technology adoption that we talked of, the need to balance the humane approach along with the here and now hard-coded cash flows and business turnarounds that we talk of. I think all of that is pretty well understood. But as an industry insider and someone who loves this category so much, I think without emotion, at the same time without being sentimental, I think that consumers are going to be cautious, but our consumers are largely progressive as well. And while they are mindful of what they buy and they are mindful of their purchases, they are progressive. And I think with passage of time, the kind of time that our panelists talked of, 6, 9, 12 months that we talked of, I'm sure that there's going to be a cycle reboot that happened. Mr. Kumar earlier talked of the survive, revive, and thrive parts of it. I think a whole lot of learning has happened, which says that we are on a firm wicket, but we are on, in a sense, probably we'll have to put our heads down. We'll have to probably go back to basics, deep dive into our fundamentals, look at every single aspect of not only the internal cost side of it, but largely what will make the customer come back, what can drive demand, what can help improve their sentiment, in what manner should we do it, how do we reach out to them, digital media, the routes of reaching out to them, content in terms of video, content in terms of making them our brand ambassadors in the journey, whether we are a small retailer, medium size or large retailer, national, small size, large size, all of us have collaboration at the bottom of it all. It's about bringing together the various aspects of fundamentals of retail with the current times. And if you're able to sort of cohesively make it coherent, I think all of us are in for better times ahead. I think on that note, I'm going to thank each one of the panelists for their invaluable time. This is just the beginning. There is a session that's planned next week again, and very interesting insights looked there as well in terms of whether it's about renting of furniture that's going to be coming in, or is it going to be buying of furniture? Is it going to be trading that's going to work, or it's going to be manufacturing and trading? Is design going to be at the front, or is it going to be functionality? A lot of these questions are going to get answered in next week's panel on the same day, on Friday, 12 noon to 1:30 at the Home and Home Conclave Plus virtual conference series. Again, followed by one more on the 1st of May, which is going to be focusing on quite a few of the retailer friends that talked about the softer side of it, the furnishings, decor, and household items. So we're going to get experts from there as well. But for today, I think it's been an amazing session. Thank you so much to every single panelist here. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you all listeners. I see that we have we crossed more than 350 at peak, and we had a steady state of about 295 people continuously listening to us over the last 1.5 hours. So much appreciated. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay home, and let's look for better times. Happy home retailing. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.